east hasn't stopped raining.
What you've just seen has been a collection of pictures of a massive flood. It was called an inland tsunami that hit the Nashville metropolitan area. $1.5 billion in damages. Thousands of residences and businesses destroyed. It was absolutely incredible. One authority said something like this does not happen every 50 to 100 years, but every 500 to 1,000 years. I was a part of it. I watched what took place. But in the middle of all this, there have been cries for, well, what about help and how do we get things together? And I've watched firsthand, and it's been miraculous. But it raises the question about something called social justice. Today, there's a lot of confusion about when you have an emergency or a disaster, that's a time for social justice. But a lot of times, I would say what you're seeing is a counterfeit. This is a counterfeit. This is a fake, $1 million bill. There is no such thing as this. But you've got to know the truth so you can identify the counterfeit. Social justice used to mean a privilege or a responsibility to engage in charitable work to help the needy, the poor, those that were suffering. But today, people are twisting it to mean more something of socialism, which means basically, hey, we've got to have government control and government involvement, and people saying, give us our entitlements and help, and let's look to the government. But that's not really what is at the core of social justice. Do you know that over 100 years ago, a man named General William Booth wrote a manual, and I'm privileged to have this. This is over 100 years old, this book. This is General William Booth, the founder of the Salvation Army. He looked out at 19th century England, and he saw prostitution and poverty and children being abused, and he came up with a plan. But he said this: we need to give people a hand up, not a hand out. And he said, for us to look to the government is a mistake. It has to come from the heart, and that's how we help people. As I've watched what's happened in the Nashville metropolitan area, I've seen strong Judeo-Christian values at work. People volunteering, competent leadership, and not looking primarily to the government, but people working and serving. Do you know I've had the privilege to be a part of it? And actually, I worked with a ministry called Samaritan's Purse. Samaritan's Purse, disaster relief. And we went out and we served and helped people. We've adopted a child in our family. My son has adopted a child. We're engaged in social justice. And I want to caution you today, be careful of those that say when you have problems, look to the government. People become dependent on the government. What we want to do is, as Christians, we want to extend the love and compassion of God to those who are in need, so we're not fooled by a counterfeit.